moment from now. Puppies money into his investment account in real time. And that's how you put funds. You're going to get something for you now. Ownership of miles to Americans urban dreading is almost here. National average gas prices higher than $5 a gallon. That is crazy. But it's more reality. And it's a problem that could be much more prevalent than reaching deeper in your pockets.
Hey, Nick. How are you, buddy? Let me know if the sound is okay. I never know with this microphone thing. Hey, Megan. Hello, Miss White. Hey, Trey. How are you, buddy? I'm early today. I'm trying to force myself to stay home and stay out of the gym because my body's really hurting and I'm tired and I'm not getting enough rest and I can't sit here and do nothing. I've already done everything I possibly could. So I said, let me jump on a live and talk about a few things here. I'm trying to. And this way my UK friends get to come on for a change. Let me turn the sound off here. Sometimes I like these mid-afternoon, nice early lives, and there's not a ton of people on here. Hey, Nikki, how are you? How's everything going? Hey, Ryan, Mona. What's it about? I guess what's it about 7 p.m. there, Nikki? If I thinking correctly. Hello, Bridget. And if you guys have questions, feel free to ask them here. I'll do my best to try to answer. I'm just giving people a few minutes to jump on here. I'm assuming everyone's at work. Not everyone's retired. Taking it easy today. I go on vacation tomorrow, going to Florida, so I think I'm going to start today. Yeah, there you go. That's what time I normally start these here. The topic is in the title, Bridget. There's several topics. Yeah, there you go, Carol. We should hang out, train dogs. It's so hot today. Too hot to be out there today. I took Dante for a nice long walk this morning early. It wasn't too bad, but by the time we got done, it was hot. What's up, Nick? How you doing, buddy? Aren't you going to Vegas here soon, Nick? If I remember correctly, I saw you saying something. I'm still recovering from Vegas, man. My body, I'm not meant for that anymore. Ooh, Arizona. What part, Trey? Arizona, yeah. You get over in the Yuma area. I mean, Phoenix is bad. Yuma is literally like being on the sun. Like being on the sun, man. Oh gosh, Yuma is horrible, dude. I know it's hitting like 115 this week in Yuma. That is so bad out there, man. Before we came to Kentucky, I lived in southern Arizona for a few years, but that's high desert down near the border and beautiful area. It doesn't get nearly as hot as it does in like Phoenix and Yuma. The weather's pretty awesome, actually, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry to hear that. That does suck. Ooh, you're going to be there for the 4th, Nick? That's a good time. Be nice and warm for you. Hopefully you pace yourself more than I did. My body can't handle that anymore. Can't handle that anymore. Yeah, Yuma's rough. Yuma's really, really bad, man. Really bad. It's like he even looks like Iraq, all the brownness and stuff like that. Who's Joe Rohan? I don't know who Joe Rohan is. Oh, Nikki, I'm so ready to come back there. I really am. I enjoyed being there so much, and I enjoyed the people there so much. I'm that is definitely one of the places I want to get back to for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I need to. I guess we can definitely get that started because that's an easy trip too. It's not that bad of a flight. The Australia thing nearly killed me. That's just so far off. So I may. I'm in the works of talking to someone in Spain and in Ireland. So maybe I could just knock them all out at the same time. I haven't told my wife yet though because I know she's going to want to go to Spain. That just gets very expensive. Then she's going to want to shop and do all the stuff, you know. Mark will be me, Jay, and Joel will be in Boston end of September, beginning of October. So we're going to be in Boston. Next up is Dallas. Then we go to Boston. I have a couple solo seminars coming up. Jacksonville, North Carolina, Orem, Utah, and I can't think. I just posted my schedule yesterday, so it's not far back in my Facebook page. And I think I'm going to add one more real soon, solo. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Ireland, Trey. I just got to get things. I'm just having a really hard time finding things, finding time to get everything done, to be honest with you. All right, and if anyone gets on with questions, there's not going to be a lot of people on here middle of the day. This is usually a nighttime thing, but I just felt like talking to some of you guys. But the thing that had me thinking yesterday, and I rarely go to these places. Yesterday, I went to one of the big box stores, pet stores. I needed a dog food storage container, right? And so I went in there and I said, while I'm here, let me get a few bully sticks. So I went over and I looked at the bully sticks, and the bully sticks were $11 a piece. Like, I thought it was a mistake. $11 a piece for a bully stick, and not a big giant one. So I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, why do people come here? And then I picked up the food storage thing, and it wasn't even that big, and it was $56. And I was like, there's no reason these people should be in business. But the thing that really bothered me, and I'm not trying to be funny about this or nothing, there was a training class going in, dog training class going in while I was there. So I heard all this ruckus, and I heard a lot of like commotion and carrying on. So I went over to watch, and my goodness, it's so unfair and so wrong to sell any kind of dog training at these places. Like, it was really not just because it wasn't effective, but they were doing more harm than good. Okay, I'll give you an example. Let's talk about puppies and teaching a recall. Super solid recall, right? They have a puppy in there, very young dog, very, very young dog, puppy, basically. The training room where I was, PetSmart, Petco, I don't remember which one. We have both here. The training room is literally like the size of my dining room. Super, super tiny, right? Not that you need a big, giant place to train, but super, super tiny. They have a puppy on a leash and a harness, and they're yelling at the dog, like, I don't mean yelling like in a mean way, but trying to pump the dog up, holding food out, and giving the dog a recall command, which you could tell the puppy had no idea what it was, to try to get the dog to come to them in this little contained place with the owner sitting in a chair, the puppy trying to get to the owner. The trainer had absolutely zero idea of what she was doing. Like, it was sad. It was really, really upsetting. And I sat there and watched this. And then they had another dog that was graduating. It had a cap and gown on. And I'm not joking about this. It had a cap and gown on. And so the trainer wanted to take a graduation picture with the dog. So she's asking the graduating dog to sit so they can get a picture. And the dog wouldn't sit, would not sit for the picture, wouldn't do anything that they asked. Nothing. This is a graduating dog, cap and gown. I'm surprised they didn't have the music playing, right? So the trainer takes out food and they're trying to bribe the dog into a sit to get a graduating picture. A graduating picture. I want you to think about that. I have no issue with if someone wants to call themselves a force-free trainer, a purely positive trainer, any of the terms that go along, I don't care. That doesn't bother me. I mind my own business. If you're a good trainer, you're a good trainer, right? I'm a dog trainer. You're a dog trainer, whatever. But if you choose to go that route, at least be good at that. At least understand something about classical conditioning, something about markers and luring, something about capturing, shaping, anything. But there was literally nothing there. Absolutely nothing. Then I listened to her go into this big explanation on what to expect when they get home and why the dog's not doing this and why the dog's not doing that. And I'm just listening to this and I'm really heartbroken. I'm really heartbroken for the people that are paying for this. Is it expensive? No, but it is expensive at what it's costing you with your dog. I feel really bad for the dog and I feel really bad for the trainer. I really do. Because someone hired her as a dog trainer, probably gave her some kind of training. And this is what you're selling. And it's 100% fraud. You're stealing from people. And it was very, very upsetting to me to watch. Like, it was really disturbing. Like, and then you see the people walking around there with their dogs. And you see some of the worst stuff we have in this world of dogs that we all deal with, right? Again, no matter what side you do on. But how in this day and age can people be so clueless? Like, for example, if you're going to get your first dog ever, or even if it's not your first, I would think that you would do so much research and try to educate yourself the best you can to have your best start, right? But obviously, when you see these things, we should be light years ahead of where we are for the average dog owner. And so that's where I want to focus on right now, the average dog owner, right? That's where I spend most of my time. I put out content because of the average dog owner. That's who I'm almost always trying to be geared to. Let's talk about the most basic thing, right? One of the most basic of things, just having a solid recall, right? Yeah, I know, Amanda, I always have a hat on, but I just cut my hair. So let's talk about something I've talked about many times over the years, puppies. When you get a puppy, you have a blank slate. I mean, you can create such a beautiful, beautiful work of art when you have a new puppy. You never see my puppies on leash, right? I don't, when I'm around my house, outside on my property, we live in a neighborhood. With that being said, use common sense here. If you live on a busy street in the South Bronx or the middle of Manhattan, use common sense. I shouldn't have to say that, but I do, because there's always someone that will jump on and says, well, it's easy for you to say. You live in a neighborhood that's not big. Use your head, anything that I say or anyone else says, right? My puppies don't see a leash. They don't see a leash. If we go out to a place that's not safe for them, I'll put a leash on them. But for the most part, my puppies never see a leash in the beginning, not for a little while. And here's why. You could teach an incredibly solid recall day 1, day 2 when you have a new puppy. And it's very simple. You're everything to that puppy. You just took that puppy away from everything it knows, its mama and its siblings. That puppy relies on you. It has to have someone. You are now that it for the puppy. And the puppy lives through its stomach, right? Feed, eat, constantly. Two very powerful things. When I'm outside and I'm just letting the puppy be a puppy, if I run away or just move away from the puppy and say the puppy's name, say anything, do anything, that puppy's following me. It doesn't want to be separated from me. I'm using that immediately to start marking and rewarding, right? So day one, do I feed out of a bowl? Yes, I do. All my dogs and puppies eat out of a bowl, but I do take some of that food and train with. Are there times where I may have trained for a lot of their food? Yeah, sure. But for the most part, with a young puppy, just a couple of minutes at most here and there. But the first thing I'm going to do is yes, feed, yes, feed, yes, feed, yes, feed, just so the puppy has that understanding. Yes means I'm about to get something, right? That's simple. All the little things, building that foundation. If you go back and look at Dante, I think he was 10 weeks old or 12 weeks old. He's running away from me down my driveway, full speed. And all I did was say yes. And he hits the brakes and comes flying back to me as fast as he can at 10 or 12 weeks old. Why? Because it's to his advantage. For one, he knows what yes means. He doesn't have to think about it. When you build that communication system, which is another thing we're going to talk about, when you build a communication system, that becomes just a reflex. They don't have to think about it. They don't hear yes or a clicker if you use a clicker and go, man, do I feel like responding to that right now? Am I even hungry? Do I feel like playing? It becomes a reflex, 100%. So just in a couple of weeks, when he was running and he hears yes from me, he doesn't have to think about it. He can't think about it if he wanted to. Automatically, it's going to be turned flying to me, and then I'm going to be moving away, feeding. Right? If he's interested in something as a puppy that catches his eye, that may be more interesting than me at the time, then I may say yes or say his name and take off and go the other way. Do you think he wants me to leave him? No. No, he's going to stay at my side because he's a puppy and he needs me. That separation is very powerful, right? We do a thing with dogs with behavioral issues, and I won't get too far into that. People at the seminars in the past year, especially 2 years, see how we use separation with serious behavioral problems. Serious behavioral problems. I'm talking like really bad stuff. And they see what happens when we separate the owner from the dog. It's extremely powerful, guys. Extremely powerful. But people want to do the opposite all the time. They want to go to the dog, to the puppy, reach out, pet, touch. The exact opposite of what the dog needs and wants. Right? Yeah, exactly, Carol. Like Rock, when you separate, whoo, man, that's nothing that these dogs want, right? But now let's talk about the communication system here. I've been really lucky and blessed to work with so many people over the past several years with all these seminars. It's the greatest, and the group classes too. Between the group classes that I do here and the seminars, it's been such a blessing for me because it's such a tremendous learning opportunity for me too, right? Because you learn something from everybody. You learn something from everybody, and you learn something from every dog. But any person on here, especially that's part of my group classes, like Carol is here, they'll attest to you how much I harp on the communication and the basics. Wasn't just day one, not just day two, not day four, not day 6. If we meet 10 times, on that 10th time, I am still harping on the basics and the communication and the foundation, because that communication has to have meaning and it has to be consistent. It has to mean something to the dog. And so one of the biggest breakdowns we have with owners and dogs is we don't have a communication system that's consistent and that the dog understands. And the second I show the human what I mean by that, they start to get it. But the problem is, it's very hard to change the human habits right away. So that's why we have to keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and repeating it. And I have to allow you to make the mistakes and fail so we could fix them. And you keep doing it because eventually it's going to make sense. So now the people in my first group class that we've met 6 or 7 times now, maybe even 8 times, the first 5 or 6 times, they still struggled, many of them. But then all of a sudden, everything starts clicking and making sense. And you see, they think the dogs are getting better. They get real excited because the dogs are doing so well now. They think the dog is changing. The dog's not changing. The person is changing. The dog's just going along with what you're doing. And that's something that so many people ignore and don't discuss and don't talk about, right? So they say, well, how do you teach free dog? Well, how do you think? Has to be consistent and constant so the dog learns. The verbal has to come before the physical. And if you're putting the verbal in front of the physical through consistent repetitions, and you're saying the same thing and you're doing the same thing over and over, eventually you no longer need the physical because the dog understands the verbal. It's that simple. And so my clients are really starting to grasp that now. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see, right? So I posted a video yesterday with Ranger, the Cane Corso, that had so many people follow that dog, right? He's got a fan base all over the world. I don't get to see all the emails that people send me. I don't, unfortunately, I just don't. I wish I did. But when I sit there and I start reading through emails and text messages, it's an incredible thing for me. Like, it's absolutely amazing the things that I get to see and hear from people. And it's what keeps me doing this. So when Caitlin, Ranger's mom, sent me that text yesterday, I was on cloud 9, because you have to think about where that dog came from. Right? So if you remember, I filmed everything with him. I wanted people to see. I wanted people to see everything. So there was no questions. I've never hid anything. I don't do anything behind closed doors. I wouldn't do in front of the camera, right? But I wanted them to see everything because I knew that there'd be certain people that would open their mouth and bitch and complain and criticize. So one of the first things I heard was, they want to talk to me about why it's the wrong route to use any kind of play with this dog, why I shouldn't allow this dog to bite anything, all these things, right? I don't argue that. I just say, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see, because I've always been someone that will show you instead of just talk about it. And that's why I continue to show the work, even when it's ugly and not pretty and not sexy and wrong. I show it all for a reason. So with Ranger, I wanted to show everything, and I wanted them to see the transformation on the little tiny things where he started showing that he was coming around and how I dealt with it, right? Then when we did his go home, it's not an hour lesson. His owner spent the weekend here, or 3 days, whatever it was, and we spent a lot of time together because board and trains are temporary. It's not real training. It's temporary training. Owner education is permanent when you put in enough time and you teach the human correctly. And that takes time and effort, right? So with Ranger, when his mama came here, who's just an amazing human being, I love her to death. Like, he's so lucky to have her, right? I set her up to fail while she was here, because she was still extremely nervous to go out in public with him for good reason. And I needed him to fail. I needed her to fail so I could show her how to handle it. And I can show her that she can handle it and that the dog can recover. And the more she knows how to deal with it, the better everything's going to get. So one of the big questions was, how is play going to translate to the real world or to the owner? That's what I heard a lot, right? And the funny thing is, no one ever asks, how does punishment translate? How does food translate? But they were very quick to say, how does play translate? The first time I literally punished anything that Ranger did, he was here over a month. And it was with the first time we took him out in public and he was going home. The go home lesson with mama, where I set him up. That was the first time. Nothing harsh, nothing brutal, nothing bad, no e-collars involved, leash, flat collar, that's it. And when I did it, he fell apart. So much so that his mama went, oh my God, he's devastated. And he was. He tried to apologize. I pushed him away, get away from me, go. Sent him away, and he was crushed. And he just lay down and was sulking. Now, if you go back to day one, where I wore a bite suit with him for a couple of days, the first time he goes after me, or the first time he bit me, which wasn't a really bad bite with the suit on, going to take him out, if I physically punish him at that moment, I never get him to where he is now because I had no meaning to the dog. And then you're just doing what the dog expects. You're giving him every reason to stay in the state of mind that he's in. And so when I did finally punish a behavior that was unacceptable from him, he was devastated because I had meaning to him now. I was important to him. I was very important in his life. He was crazy about me. We had a relationship. He trusted me. So when I did punish him, he was devastated, right? Devastated. But then before too long, I let him know, we're okay, buddy. You're still my pal. And when I called him over and I loved on him, man, that butt was going crazy. That tail was going. And I knew he'd never do that behavior again because the punishment, the physical punishment, was nothing. But me being disappointed in him and sending him away from me was devastating to him. Devastating to him. So I still get into a lot of ugly situations with people because they get upset at me when I say, I see people on the button with the e-collar for everything. Punish this, punish this, punish this. It's not going to work. It's never going to work. It's ineffective, right? And when I say ineffective, I don't mean at the moment. That's nothing to me. Having success at that moment means nothing to me. And it's false advertising. It's not real. Show me that dog 6 months later. Show me that dog a year later. Show me that dog 5 years later. I do that. I show those dogs. Not because I request stuff from my clients. They send it to me. And when they send it, I show it. But how do you get those true long-term results? You get it with patience. You get it with taking your time. You get it with being very clear, fair, consistent, and most of all, by educating the owner. So I knew Caitlin was going to struggle at times. She's not a dog trainer. So what do I have to focus on to make her successful? If you're working with the client, a very good way to measure things is have a little trick. Show me how to teach this behavior, X behavior. And it could be something complicated. Show me how to teach it. If they say, I don't know how to teach it, well, don't worry about the behavior. How would you teach it, knowing what you know? If they have no idea how to get started, then I failed. I'm not educating them enough. That's on me. It is, right, Jake? Thank you. It's on me. Show me how you would stop this behavior and why would you do that? They have to be able to show me and tell me. If they can't, then I failed. I haven't done my job, and we have to go back and focus on that. And if the client understands those things and they truly understand the meaning and the why behind it, then when a situation arises when they're back home, there's nothing they can't handle. And when the dog goes back and tries to do what it was doing before, and now the owner understands how to handle it in the best way possible, closest to how I would handle it, then the real change starts happening. Starts happening right away. So, do you think when Caitlin first took Ranger someplace and there was a new stranger that he was like, hey, play with me? No. Did he go after him and try to bite him? No. But he was still a little off-putting and nervous and barking at times, right? You know why? He had to have that same trust with Caitlin as he did with me. And he didn't yet. That takes a little time. So when the dog goes back to the owner, most of the time they're going to fall back to right what they know, what they knew, what they're used to doing, what they're used to exploiting. And if he didn't have the confidence in her before, he's not going to have the confidence in her right from the start. So when we would talk, and we talked often once she left here, and she says, I'm running into this, how would I handle this? Then we talk and I explain it and we have a good conversation. Now she knows what to do. And when she starts doing it, then Ranger starts to believe in her and he could relax. All that stress goes away. He's like, oh my gosh, my mom's a badass, just like Uncle Larry. I don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. So that video yesterday, why I was so excited, that was a stranger. What did he do when he saw that stranger? Hey, dude, play with me. Throw this ball. And by the way, there's a busy road right here and I'm off leash, but it's okay. I'm trained. I'm not going to run in the road, even if a rabbit takes off, even if a deer takes off, even if a little baby cow with a raw piece of steak strapped to its back takes off, giving me 2 middle fingers. I'm not going to chase it. You know why? Because it's so much more fun playing with you here. Because see, chasing that rabbit and chasing that deer is fun for most dogs that don't get to do that. But Ranger gets to do that with other people through play. And there's boundaries and there's rules and everything that he needs to thrive. So what Caitlin has done with that dog is an absolutely beautiful thing. And I get client after client that do the same because I get to work with amazing people. And that's why a few weeks ago, when some people got upset with me because someone recommended me to someone and I wasn't interested in taking them on, I wasn't trying to be a jerk. And by the way, the people never reached out to me. If they reached out to me, we'd have a conversation. But I didn't want to be included in the conversation because I've been doing this long enough to know that when people say or do certain things, whether they're serious about fixing a problem or not. And I refuse to take a check from someone that isn't 100% committed to doing whatever it takes to fix the problem. I won't do it. I don't have to do that. Now, I understand. I'm fortunate that I could handpick my clients, that I can pick and choose who I want to work with. I get it. Not everyone has that opportunity. So I'm not an idiot. I understand that. It's also the reason why I don't have a big, giant facility. I don't have 20 trainers working under me. I have 0 trainers working under me, right? So I'm throwing away a ton of money. I'm throwing away making a fortune. I have friends, as I'm sure most of you on here do, that make 8 figures a year training dogs. 8. Think about that. 7. Sorry. Got my numbers wrong. 7 figures a year training, over $1 million a year. Some of them several $1 million a year training dogs, right? It's a lot of money. Do you think that's not tempting sometimes? Of course it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. You should be able to make as much as you want and be as big as you want. But after 26, 27 years of doing this, I'm still learning. I'm not done learning. And so I want to put the time and effort into each dog and each human that I work with. And for me, that's where I chose to keep my training career going. Because the second and listen, don't get me wrong, there was a time where I wanted to do that. The first time I ever went to a big, beautiful facility to do a seminar, it was a friend of mine. And I said to her, and she extremely successful. I mean, just a badass woman, extremely successful, multiple locations. And I said, I think I'm ready. I think I need to do this. And she was the first one to tell me this, but not the last. She just left. She said, don't. I said, what do you mean? She said, I'm so jealous of the way that you still get to do it. I was like, why is that? She said, because you train dogs and you love it. She said, I run a business and put out fires all day. I don't get to do what you do anymore. And that really hit deep. I was like, wow. So do I get the urge every now and then? Do I want to be able to give my kids really nice things and take exotic trips? Of course, but at what price? For me, I'm still at a stage where my time is my most valuable commodity. I get to be with my kids when I want. I travel when I want. The seminars are great, but I don't have to do so many of them, But I'm dead serious when I say I'm still a student and I'm still learning. And I try to continue to learn as much as I can so that when I do work with clients, when I do group classes, when I do seminars, I have to be able to provide something better each time I see these people. And some of these people come back seminar after seminar after seminar, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So I'm like, why would you keep doing this? And they say, because I learned something new every time. And that's really important to me. And I want to be able to keep providing that. And the second I give in, listen, I can afford to go buy a nice building, a nice big piece of property and build my own building. I could afford that. I could go out and hire 10, 20 trainers tomorrow, and I think I'll probably get a few applicants. And I told my wife, if you want to do this, I'm willing to do it. And we'd start making a fortune tomorrow. It's just not where I'm at. Hey, Monique. Love my New Zealand people. I got to meet so many of you when I was in Australia doing the seminars. Such awesome, amazing people out there. Scotland, the UK, and New Zealand, and Australia. Very blessed. So that's another thing. If I go get the big facility and start making a few $1 million a year and have all these people working for me, could I ever do that stuff again? I don't know. It may take a while. And then there goes a lot of stress along with that. Hey, Daniel, how are you, buddy? And so back to consistency and communication. As dog trainers, I think our biggest priority has to be focused on the human, the client. It's really important, guys. Everybody knows I care about the animal, right? I have no tolerance for someone mistreating the animal in an unfair way, especially. No tolerance for it. That gets me in a lot of trouble. Hey, Ron. But anyone that knows me knows majority of my time goes into that human, to the client. Not making it easy for them, making it truly successful to where they love it. They get to love what they're doing with the animal. They never feel bad about what they're doing with the animal. And they get true, long-lasting results. The issue with the e-collar stuff, it sounds hypocritical coming from me, right? E-collar guy, the book, the videos. The whole purpose from day one with the videos in the book was to get the average dog owner to stop destroying their animal, to where you're not relying on it so far. You know how many trainers in this past year, seasoned, experienced trainers in the past year have contacted me and have said, you are so right. And I say, about what? They say, I stopped using the e-collar all the time for everything, and everything's gotten better. Everything. And that's 100%. But the average dog trainer, exactly, James. How you doing, buddy? The average dog trainer spends all day pushing that button, sometimes hundreds of times. Think about that. And I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious. I'm not exaggerating. I see them at the seminars. I watch them come in and I see the red light on the receiver going nonstop. And I'll stop and I'll talk to them and say, why are you pressing the button? And they're surprised that I asked them that. And a lot of times it's a nervous response because they're professional dog trainers and they don't want to be embarrassed by their dog misbehaving, coming in the room when it's pretty chaotic. So any kind of little thing they see from the dog, they're lighting it up. But what you have to understand, guys, that's not fixing anything. Your dog's just avoiding the pain at that moment, but you're not changing anything. And we're getting so far away from dog training and relying on Band-Aids. And Band-Aids will never provide everlasting results. You want the e-collar to be as effective as it can be? Stop using it so much. I promise you, you'll see a big difference. Promise you. Okay? I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. I'm not saying, look at me, look at my dogs. Yeah, I have great dogs, but I've always had great dogs long before I ever put an e-collar on any of my dogs because I spent the time with them. And I taught them. And there was a time where the only thing I did for training was put my dogs on a leash and a flat collar and go out on a walk every day. And I miss having that kind of time to where we just walked and that was their learning, right? That's where we built everything. That was it. And so I truly care. I try every now and then something will come up and you get into it with someone and there's some negativity and it's back and forth. And I honestly do try to avoid that like the plague. But every now and then I'm in a pissy mood and my patience are low and I can't keep my mouth shut. And I always regret it, right? I always regret it instead of just hitting the delete or block button, which I have to be better at. But the truth is, the majority of those times, it's just because I'm so frustrated because I know they think they're doing the best they can. And I just want to tell them, listen, I used to do that too. And I promise you, you could do a lot better. But until you think you're doing the best that you possibly can. But I could promise you this, in no circumstance, dogs shouldn't be walking around with their head down like they have an invisible underground fence with them at all times. And that's what we're coming to. And what's going to happen is we're going to lose that tool because of those people. That's what we're going to do. We're going to lose that tool because there's nothing more of a turnoff to me anyway. I mean, there's a lot of things that turn me off, right? I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to try to behave. But one of the things that really bothers me is when I see someone that has to walk around with a remote in their hand the whole time. That's just a huge billboard saying my dog's not trained and I don't believe in my training. And I have to have this ready because they're going to make mistakes and screw up and I have to be ready. That's just my opinion. It bothers me when I see that. It just does because you could do better, right? There's so much information out there. There's so many great trainers out there that you can go to learn from. 26, 27 years later, I'm still spending a fortune to learn from the best because I refuse to ever stop learning. And I could tell you what, in the past 2 years, I've learned more important quality stuff than I have in the previous 25. Think about that. Because at 5 years into training, man, I thought I knew everything. I was a cocky son of a bitch. I really was. 10 years into training, I was like, man, I'm an old timer, but there's probably a few things I don't know. 20 years into training, you realize you know nothing. You think you knew everything. You know nothing until you start working around more amazing old timers, right? That have been doing this on a different level. And then you're like, wow, that's a beautiful thing to see. That's a beautiful thing to see. One of the greatest things for me, I think, was the fact that I had another full-time career for 25 years being a federal agent, and my wife always said this, it kept me wanting more with the dogs. It stopped me from being completely burnt out, right? Because I had to take time away from the dogs. I had another career. And she was right. That's the best thing that happened to me, because when I started the business, I wanted to stay little tiny, just so I could do it on the side and continue to get better and enjoy the process and have something there when I did retire. But it exploded very quickly, very, very quickly, and got much bigger than I ever expected. You know, I saw a few lists yesterday, and this cracks me up. There are a bunch of YouTube lists, like 10 best dog training channels on YouTube, 20 best. And on many of them, I'm near the top of that list, and I have to just laugh because my videos are so unprofessional and poorly shot with an iPhone and poor quality. But I think because I've just tried to provide simple, realistic information for the average dog owner all these years, it's been effective, right? So now I'm trying to think, what could I do to do it better for people? Where could I add more value? And so I decided, I think I'm going to try to start hitting the YouTube stuff a little more, because I don't pay much attention to it anymore. I'm going to try to start putting valuable stuff to help the average dog owner, because there's a lot of confusion. And there's some big channels out there, some big social media people out there, dog trainers, and some are good, some are not good. But I could tell you this. I think the difference between me and a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them, is they've spent years trying to get bigger. I've spent all my years trying to get better. And so all I could do is put out the information that I think can help people, right? And I'm really starting to reap the benefits during these seminars now, because I'm starting to truly enjoy them. And I talk about this often. My first 3 seminars were horrendous. They were terrible. They were not good. Why? I went in with the curriculum. Back then, everybody, guess what they wanted? E-collar stuff. So a whole seminar just based off the e-collar, which is ridiculous and unnecessary. And you can't fill a whole weekend about e-collar stuff because it's so simple and so basic. Hey, what's going on, Jesse? Me too, brother. I do too. Tell Amanda I tried calling her back too. We keep missing each other. It's just very difficult to do a whole weekend because it's so simple and so basic, right? So after that 3rd seminar, that really sucked. I made great friends with all 3, and there were some good moments with all 3, but to be honest, they were terrible. After that, I said, I will never go into a seminar again with a curriculum. So from that day on, I just catered. I look at myself as an employee. I go there. I work for the people that are there. You tell me what you want. How can I help you? And if I have the ability, that's what I'm going to do. This way, everyone gets what they came there for. At least I try to. And since then, they've been way better. And each one gets a little better. But a big side of that, again, that no one talks about is the emotional connection with the human, which is vital, guys. Because everyone has different things going on in their life. And a lot of times you see the struggle with the dog and there's more going on there. And everyone that's been to every seminar knows exactly what I'm talking about. They've witnessed it. They've seen it. When I have to stop and talk to someone and get a little deeper and more personal into their life, it comes out. And that's why there's so much damn crying at these seminars. There's always people crying because we all go through shit. All of us. And a lot of times that gets manifested in our dogs and creates a lot of problems. And sometimes stuff is so rough that we don't even talk in public. I'll meet in private with people and get to the bottom of things, because if you get to the bottom of what someone's truly going through, and sometimes it's really bad, guys, really bad, then you could be more patient. You could be more lenient. You could expect less. You could have a lot more empathy, and you can understand why they're having such a hard time telling their dog no. You get it then, and you work around that. And once I figured that stuff out, that's where everything changed. That's where everything changed. You know, everything. So the people on here that have been to seminars, they'll tell you there's always crying. Myself too. Last one, man, I was bawling like a baby at one point. It was rough. It was hard. So this whole dog training thing is a lot more than come sit down place and e-collars and prong collars. You have to learn how to connect with the human. And on the dog side of things, we've gotten away from the basics. You have to master the basics. Let me say that again. If you want to be great at anything, I come from a sports background, right? You have to master the basics inside and out. If your dog will come to you, will down, will sit, will stay, and be still in any situation, what else do you possibly need? Think about that. What else do you need? If you have that, and then you want to expand things and fancy things up and work on different things, then we do that, right? Like I saw Pam on here. Hi, Pam. Pam has an incredible Malinois. Pam started coming to my group classes, right? So when we started working with Pam and her dog, she had done such a tremendous job already. Tremendous job. There was so much there to work with. So now we take the things she was already doing and just try to make them a little better by giving her more education and showing her how she could expand things. But then we say, let's teach the dog something cool. Let's teach the dog a reverse handstand. So why did I choose to tell Pam to teach her dog a reverse handstand? Simple. So she knows how to do it. She learns how to break things down into small pictures and teach the dog. And while she's learning and working and struggling to teach that, that relationship with her and her dog is going to take off and get even stronger. Hey, Pam, I'm grateful for you, Pam. I got more from you than you got from me, believe me, right? What'd she do? She taught her dog reverse handstand and just keeps getting better and better and better. So there's a lot to this, guys, a lot to this. So I know, hey, Duke, how are you, my friend? So I know there's a lot of ugliness in the dog world. There's so much decisiveness. There's so much arguing, and not just between this side and that side. You got plenty of fighting within the one side, and people can't agree on the one side of things. And there's arguments about this tool and how to do this. The truth is, if you're having incredible results with happy dogs and happy people, keep doing what you're doing and just keep constantly trying to learn more and get better. And then you decide, right? And that's why I think it's very important to show the work, right? The thing with Ranger showing that yesterday, it's not important for me to show that so I can get more business. I don't need more business. That's not important for me to show to say, hey, look what I did. Because for one, I didn't do that. His owner did that. I just laid the foundation. It's important that when some chick with blue hair goes online for the AP, DT, and the force-free community and talks about how you should never even crush your eyes at your dog or say no or, raise your voice. You say, well, let's see what you got going on and show me your work, because I'll show you mine. And here's some of it. So imagine if a dog like Ranger went to someone that had that belief system, which I deal with those clients all the time. They're never successful. And there's some tremendously talented people on the force-free side. Believe me when I tell you, I know plenty of them. I work with plenty of them. Force-free people, purely positive people, come to my seminars. Have never left angry, right? I have had them sneak in, show up to disrupt things, and they never do. And then at the end, they say, I was very surprised. I didn't know you can use that tool like that. I didn't know that you could train like that and still use corrections and e-collars. Every seminar. That's no bullshit. I promise you, right? I don't have to hide that stuff, but it's also why I don't get a lot of hatred from that side of things. I show everything, and what are you going to do? Take a dog like Ranger or any other dog I've ever trained and say, look at this dog. Look what he's doing to this dog. Look how this is the best, and I'm not joking. I've brought this up before. There was a purely positive trainer that took one of my videos. I can't remember which video, which dog. It was a problem dog. I think there were e-collars involved, play, biting, everything involved, right? And sent it to their group of purely positive trainers. And she said, guys, this guy's not force-free. He uses all this stuff, but look at this dog. This dog's pretty damn happy. This is no bullshit, right? This was the best response I've ever heard in my life. It was priceless. Someone in that group literally said, this is not a joke, I swear on my kids, that dog was abused into being happy. I'm dead serious. It's just, I was like, this is great. To me, that's the ultimate compliment, right? It's the ultimate compliment. So just a few things I wanted to talk about here. Appreciate you guys as always. I get more support than I deserve. I'm very, very grateful. And hopefully I get to see you all out there sometimes as I keep traveling and doing this and just doing my thing. I'm trying to prepare my dog, Dante, for IGP. You know, I've always spoke about this. Pet dog people have to learn from sport dog people, the best of the best. It's so vital, so important. And I've always had the utmost respect for people that continually compete in dog sports and are at the top with dog after dog. Always had a ton of respect. Now that I'm actually trying to do it myself, that amount of admiration and respect is gone through the roof because it is so much work. I don't know how they find the time to do it over and over and over with multiple dogs in multiple sports. I don't get it. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me. And I hope I could just get somewhere with Dante, and I'm trying to find the time, and it's a struggle. I really am having a hard time, you know? But all right, guys, we head to Florida tomorrow. I'll be at the beach making my coconut margaritas. I'm going to probably drink a lot of them. I'm going to eat a lot of my favorite donuts on the planet, Charlie's Donuts, Alice Beach. Best donuts on the face of the earth. I'm telling you, every time I bite into one, I cry a little bit. It's a very emotional and a little bit of a sexual experience. They're that good, you know? And I appreciate you, Pam. That's very sweet. I can't wait either, Beth. I love being around you. You're just a tremendous human being to be around. I enjoy you so much. Hi, boys. Hi. You don't have to. Renzo, are you all wet? Yeah, but you're walking through the house. Renzo and his buddy are swimming. All right, guys. Appreciate you all very much. Hope you all have a great weekend. And maybe I'll hit you up from down on the beach after I have mucho cocktails, even though my wife will be trying to stop me from doing so. Okay. All right. Peace out, guys. Thank you.